Can somebody please tell the desert that it has absolutely no business being this hot outside in October? Stop. I'm sweating inside with the AC on and a t-shirt. This is not okay. This is extremely unjust. Anyway, welcome back. If you're new here, I'm Anna. I am a full-time editor and indie author, and this is my channel. As a quick recap, I currently have one book published. It is titled When Stars Burn Out. I like to comp it as The Last of Us meets The 100. If you've read it, let me know if you agree with this comp. I am currently working on its sequel. I am 500 pages into the final draft. However, I still have about 200 pages left of the ending, and there are a lot of rewrites necessary. I feel slightly over my head right now, and that is because I'm such an overwriter. For example, yesterday I started writing what was supposed to be a new scene. It has become a new chapter, but hear me out. When Stars Burn Out was written in first person present with a single point of view character. A Dark Sky Opens, which is the sequel I'm working on right now, has 3 POV characters and they're all still in first person present. But if you've read the first book, you know that there's kind of like a loophole. I'm going to try not to spoil anything, but there's kind of a loophole that will enable the reader to peek into the minds of other characters that aren't POV characters. The scene that was supposed to be a scene that rapidly became a chapter is one of those instances where I'm able to look into the POV of another character that isn't a POV character. How many times can I say POV? So my whole point is I'm overwriting, but I feel like it's justified in this case because I really, really, really need this to be a character that the reader resonates with and supports and learns to love, because if they don't, then what is the point of writing this book? Portraying a realistic character that people can learn to love is so hard to do. It's a lot harder than you think. What is even worse is that it's really hard to discern if that's what you're actually doing or if you're the only one who loves that character and nobody else does. So much about art is subjective. We've heard this a million times. I think we have to accept it. I don't think I'll ever make peace with it, but I have to accept it. And it does occasionally scare the shit out of me to think maybe nobody cares about these characters but me. And I think that's why I'm also just so preoccupied mentally with making sure that I just nail this chapter. I really need people to care about this character. And if they don't, then that is going to be a significant problem for me. I cannot believe that I'm actually talking to the camera in public right now. Go me. Quick update on the progress of this chapter. I'm definitely progressing through it. I'm over halfway. I would say that maybe even I'm 3/4 of the way through, but shockingly, this environment is too beautiful and this chapter is too dark. This chapter is ugly and sad and distraught and disparaging, and this environment is just like heaven. So I think that my idea to get out of the house and to write in a beautiful environment was a little misguided. I really should not set up so many parameters around when I write and what I write. That's a problem. I did make progress, but I'm not tapping into the darkness that I need to in order to convey like that real raw emotion. I took some notes. I've got a good game plan for the rest of the chapter, but I think I'm gonna have to call it for now and probably pick up and write the rest of this somewhere else. I am sweating my ass off. It is so hot in here, and I had to turn the AC off. We have 2 ACs. I had to turn one of them off because I need you guys to hear me in here. And I've got my good microphone, and I'm still overheating, and I don't know if you can hear me. We're doing the best we can. I have decided to bite the bullet and talk a little bit about my writing process. Now, this is something that I am reluctant to talk about, namely because I don't think people should follow this process. This process is not a healthy process. It's neurotic, in a word. So let's get one thing clear. I am the perfect walking, talking embodiment of the writer stereotype. I am insane. I have never in my life made or filled out a character profile sheet. All of my characters are real, okay? They're real to me, and they come to me fully formed. There are times where I will be writing and then they will reveal their backstory to me, and I'm like, I'm so sorry, I never knew this about you. They show me who they are over time, okay? I think that that's necessary to emphasize because my process is a time-consuming process. I go into the first draft with a really extensive, detailed outline, but I am allowed to part ways with it whenever I want to. My first drafts are expansive and long and self-indulgent and exploratory, and I really allow myself the freedom of looking at the story from different angles. As an example of this, I am actually writing a fantasy series along with my sci-fi series right now, and I wrote the first book in that series from 3 different character POVs because I just wanted to figure out who was really the best protagonist. See why I don't recommend this? I would say my first drafts are almost never under 200,000 words. I allow characters to engage in dialogue that I know will never be featured in the actual final draft of the book, and that is because I want to learn more about them through those exchanges. I want to understand their dynamic with each other. I want to understand their nuances, their body language, their tics. And I also want them to reveal more about themselves because, again, I don't go in with a character profile sheet. I don't go in with a cast that I have curated. It's sort of like they all just pop into place. As soon as I'm done with the first draft, I then have the job of, through multiple rounds of revision, carving the plot out of all of that fluff. And that is challenging to do. I have written many books, even though I only have 1 published. And I think because of that writer intuition that I've built up over the years, I'm able to discern what should stay and what should go. But in the beginning, that was very hard for me. I'm not one of those writers who thinks, oh, I had to cut 30,000 words from this book. What a waste. I don't think anything that you write is a waste. Anything, ever. And I think if you decide to spend a little more time on a draft and make it longer, then you're understanding the story more, you're understanding the characters more, and how is that not a good thing? I do a full rewrite after my first draft, by the way. My first draft is just me understanding the book, the story, the characters. I do not keep any of that material. And I think that that is essential for me because otherwise I build it up in my mind and I put too much pressure on myself to just say, listen, none of this is going to make it to the final draft. We're just having fun, we're playing, we're exploring. That is necessary for my psychology to even finish a draft. Otherwise, I'm gonna sit there and overthink it for eternity. So I always do a full rewrite on the second draft, and then after that I will start keeping components and I will continue to carve the fluff out and refine the plot, and by the time I get to the almost final draft is when I will print the whole thing out and I start to do something that's even a little crazier than everything I've said already. I start to reverse engineer my plot. So like I said, I start off with a really detailed outline. Will I follow it to a T? Almost never. So by the time I get to the almost final draft, I need to revisit the plot structure of this book. At this point, I will print out the entire manuscript, and then I'll print out a stack of, say, 100 scene cards in cardstock so that they stick out when I put them into the manuscript. And I use those scene cards to outline scenes. I will tag a scene card to a scene that needs revision. So basically, this scene card will inform me as to whether or not the scene needs to be scrapped and replaced with something else, if it needs to be heavily revised, if there is no scene that exists there, but needs to exist there. I will use a scene card. Then I go through the whole manuscript and I'll put a little clip, like a paper clip or a little clippy, I don't know what they're called, and I will section out every single chapter and I end up with something like this. This is what I have left of A Dark Sky Opens to revise. This was like 3 times the size when I began. This process allows me to organize things in a tangible way while also breaking down the huge amount of work that is ahead of me into bite-sized pieces. So it's easier for me to say, okay, today I'm going to be working on this. So I will literally have this whole stack and just pull this one off, and then this is what I have to work on today. This is why I think it's fascinating to hear about other writers and their writing process, because it's so different from writer to writer. And the reason for that is there's no real right or wrong way to write a book. It's all about the mind games that you play for yourself and that you customize for yourself to just get to the finish line. You'll eventually curate what I have, which is a process that kind of sort of works for you.